don't know where to put it. Here, let me put it down here. He's also soft-spoken, so it's good we're in here.
I'm Kelcie. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is September 29th, 2012. Dang, I don't like that thing. When I was younger, I don't want to say my family was
Is there any way you can speak up? Just because I know there's people that aren't going to be able to hear too well in here.
Yeah, I can try. No, I don't want to say my family was dysfunctional, but my parents just couldn't function together. So, growing up, they divorced and got remarried, both had children, and I didn't understand. I did not understand that. I was mad. I wanted it to be about me. And I'm also deaf in my right ear, so I started off balance. So it was a struggle in school, having to learn and take speech classes, and so from the start I felt different. I didn't feel like I fit in, or I just felt different. And I don't really have much to say about my childhood. But I do remember my dad. He's out there. He left me at a birthday party when I was 10 and didn't come and get me. So I felt abandoned, and he wasn't really a part of my life until I was 10, and I didn't understand that. So that took its toll on me. And when I was 12, he let me have my first drink. Didn't understand that either. But I liked it. I didn't like the taste, but I liked the way that it made me feel. And I realized that if I drank enough, it would numb my pain. So I started drinking on the weekends and sneaking probably when I was 15. But when I was 8, this is what made me feel really just out of place. I got bit by a rabid cat, and I made the front page of the paper. So I got picked on in middle school. Everyone would call me rabies, and eventually I had to put my foot down and had to pour chocolate milk on someone's head. But that always stuck with me. So it's a little embarrassing, but I'm grateful that I'm here. And going on to high school, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop drinking. It's what I wanted to do. I thought I was supposed to party, and I thought it was normal, but the stuff I was doing was not normal. And out of respect for AA, I won't talk about any other substances, but my disease progressed, and it got worse and worse, but it started with a drink. In high school, I felt like I had to stand up for myself, so I was always fighting, always, being tough, even though I really wasn't. Moved schools. I figured a new crowd. No, it was me. It was always me. Instigating, and my end of my junior year, the principal calls me in the office, and I'm in and out of school. I'm getting suspended, come back, trying to catch up, do it all over again, constant. Principal calls me in the office and tells me, Kelcie, you have 142 absences. What are you doing? Why are you here? And so then I just started drinking every day. I couldn't, I didn't want to be at school. I'd rather be drunk, Because at that point, it was to make up those days I had to be at school from 7 a.m. to 7 at night. So it got to the point where I was drinking after school to help me get through after school. And thankfully I never got caught. But senior year, I didn't give a crap about anything. My house became the party house. My car was the party car, you know. My life was very unmanageable. And I couldn't handle it. So I drowned in a bottle and just wake up the next morning and realizing all my problems are still here, you know. After I graduated, by the grace of God, I graduated, because that was not supposed to happen. I didn't make up all those days. I didn't do what I was supposed to. That was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. I got, right before my senior year, I got in a really bad fight. And the resource officer was trying to pull me off of the girl, and I ended up elbowing her in the face, and I didn't know that it was the resource officer. So that caused a lot of problems. A lot of problems. After I graduated, I still can't talk about this much, but I was violated, and I lost myself completely. I didn't know who I was. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't want to be in my own skin. So it got so much worse. I didn't do anything but drink. That's all I did, because that's all I wanted to do. And I'd tell myself, I'm not going to do it tomorrow. I'm not going to do this. And I'd do it. I'd find a way to do it. And at the end of the day, I'd realize it wasn't worth it, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. When I was 19, which was last year, I got a DWI. I hit a cop car, and I tried to run from him. And the whole time I'm running, I knew I had a problem. I just didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to get help. I didn't know. So the whole time I'm running, I'm like, all right, Kelcie, this is not normal. You don't do this. I just kept running, and finally I was like, all right, maybe this will help me get the help I need. You know, maybe sitting in the drunk tank will help, you know? And that he was not happy with me. I've never acted that bad in my life, and I disrespected him and his car, of course. Right before the DWI, right around the time that I was violated, I lost one of my closest friends. He tried to get sober. He was 30 days sober, and I was like, what are you doing that for? Why do you want to do that, you know? And he had just got back from rehab, and I'd seen him, and he looked, it's amazing what sobriety can do. But he picked up, and it cost him his life. And that was really hard to deal with, because I'm thinking about getting sober, and you did it, and then you had a slip, and you're gone, you know? So that's what really scared me. Am I really going to be able to stop? Because I don't want to die, but I don't want to not drink either, you know? So that just caused it to escalate bad. But I do want to say, my year anniversary, like as far as sobriety, I ran into that cop again, and you know, he was looking at me real funny, and I really didn't know how to approach him. So I just went up to him, and I was like, "Hey, thank you, you know, thank you. You know, I'm not telling you that I'm guilty. I'm just trying to tell you thank you, because you said, you know, because you probably saved my life and someone else's." And you know, I showed him my chip, and I told him, I was like, you know, I really appreciate that. Even though it's going to be on my record, I really appreciate what you did, because it saved my life. There's no question about it, because that incident just made me realize I really had to do something. And I ran into him, and he told me I was the second person in his lifetime of being a cop to thank him. So that meant a lot to me, because, you know, I still had to go to court. I still had to see him. So at least we were on a personal level now, you know. After that DWI, I decided, all right, I got to do something. So I said a little prayer, hoping it'd work, because it was the first one in a while. And I woke up the next morning, and I had to tell myself several times, I'm not going to drink today. I said my prayer again, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to rough it out. I'm going to detox myself. And so I stayed in my room for 2 weeks. That was awful. That was so awful. Couldn't move, couldn't do anything. Mom probably thought I was dying. She didn't know what to do, you know. So I stayed in my room, and I detoxed myself. And then I was like, all right. Someone had told me, I had ran into this lady at a store in Pinehurst, and she told me if I was obviously looking rough, or she knew something was up, because she gave me her phone number and said, if you need me, call me. So I called her, and I told her, and she was like, well, what do you know about AA? What's AA? And she was like, well, let's go to a meeting. Well, I don't really feel like doing that. Well, we gotta go if you want to stay sober. So I went, and I actually enjoyed it. And I knew right then I was at home, and I knew that I was not the only one. I was not the only crazy person. Because once y'all started talking, y'all started telling my story too. So I was like, okay, maybe this is where I need to be. So I tried going to rehab. I was there 3 weeks. I couldn't follow rules. I was still having shakes and sweats, and, you know, I just couldn't follow the rules. And I didn't know how to ride a bus in Raleigh. So that just didn't work out very well. But I was desperate. I wanted to get sober, and that lady was my sponsor. Before I even knew she was my sponsor, she was suggesting things, and she suggested the Bethany House. But before I went to the Bethany House, I tried to stay at home and go to meetings, and before I got sober, I had told my supplier, if I call you, don't answer. If I show up, don't answer. Don't take my money. So after I was at home for a couple of weeks, hoping I would get into the Bethany House, And I felt hopeless. I felt hopeless. I didn't know what to do with myself. And my sponsor had told me, you have to change your people, places, and things. I was still in that place. You know, I was still in that town, still in stomping grounds, and I was scared, you know. And that pain started coming back, and so I went to my supplier. And he opened the door just laughing at me. I'm not taking your money. Well, why not? Because you told me not to. So, in the end, I was really grateful for that because I'm still sober. And if it would have been any other way, I probably wouldn't be. So, I'm extremely grateful for that. So, I get in the Bethany house, and I'm desperate. I'm trying to follow these rules. I'm trying to figure it out, and I don't like getting up early. I don't like doing this. I don't like these rules, you know, but I wanted to get sober, and I was willing to do whatever I had to do. And so it took some adjusting, and I got used to it, and it's my second home today. I stayed there for 6 months. I was able to pick up all my tools and learn how to live sober. And looking at it today, I needed that structure, whether I wanted it or not. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And as my 6 months was rolling around, I wanted to try to be normal. You know, I wanted to, drive my car and those kind of things. And so I was going to move out with a lady that was in the program, but that didn't work out too well. And so I said a prayer, asking God to help me figure out, what to do, what my next step was. And a lady calls my sponsor literally as I'm praying, saying she needs a roommate. I'm like, is that really how it works? This is awesome. But I didn't have the money to move in with her. So I was like, oh, well, here we go again, another bump in the road. One of the first lottery tickets I bought, actually I scratched it out here, and I probably shouldn't have. But I was like, did I win? I didn't understand it. And one of the girls had to tell me, Kelcie, you just won $200. I was like, oh, that's my rent, This is awesome. So I'm amazed at all the little God winks that I've had. I can't explain that feeling. But before I have to say this, before I got in the Bethany house, I was so desperate to get in there, and I didn't have the money, and I had burnt all my bridges, but I had to get in there. So my aunt made some wreaths, and I helped her and ended up selling wreaths outside of my sponsor's store to try to come up with the money. That's how desperate I was. And it was winter, it was cold, I was not happy, but I was desperate to get in that house. So I just had to go back for a second. Christmas rolls around, and I'm in the Bethany house, and I want my car, I want to go home, I want to do this, and it was my old behavior, just wanting to run. And it took me a couple days to realize that. And I was like, oh, I don't need that car. I don't need to do that. I just need to do what I'm supposed to do. So around Christmas last year, my fog was starting to go away. I was starting to, realize you just need to go with the flow. Don't try to plan stuff because it's not going to work. It's never going to work, And I had to realize God's plan's better than mine. At the beginning, I couldn't accept that. But I learned to. And some of the ladies that used to live in the Bethany house, sometimes they'll bring little presents just out of thought, and because they've been in our, they were in our shoes at one point in their life. And I opened my gift, and I was rolling. I was constantly trying to figure out what I was going to do next week and what I'm going to wear tomorrow, and I shouldn't worry about it. I got this little turtle, and it said 1 day at a time. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what I have to do, That is what I have to do. But it's just a total transformation. Spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Like, I was not this person this time last year. And I had to start working those steps. It wasn't just about, getting in the Bethany house and going to meetings. It was about learning how to live sober, learning to change those old habits, and to deal with the pain. 4 steps are not easy. They're not easy. The first thing I had to learn how to do when I got sober was learn how to flip the negative. I didn't give a crap about anything. So I had to learn how to flip it. Say, okay, well, let's look at it this way. And that's one of my biggest tools. I have to flip it because my attitude, it can flip really quick, and I have to flip it right back around, or it could be trouble. And I'm truly grateful that I had the opportunity to get here, to get in these rooms, to have my seat, because I've learned so much. And the women, all of y'all that have come before me, have helped me so much. I thought I couldn't do it. I thought it was too hard or too much work. And all of y'all did it, so I can do it. It wasn't easy, though. But today,
Oh, it's still loud. Not but loud.
Today I can do normal things, I can go to work. I can, go hang out with friends, and it's okay.
Sorry, Kelcie. And everybody else.
It's just a true blessing to be sober, and all the things that have happened since I got sober, I did not expect to happen. I didn't expect to go in the courtroom and that cop give me a thumbs up. Okay, well, what does that mean? I walked out of that courtroom with my license, and that's a blessing, because I know I don't deserve that, but I did what I was supposed to do. And today, recovery to me it's very important, and I have to remember to stay in meetings and call my sponsor and network and try to do service work, and most importantly, I have to remember where I came from, because if I don't, I could end up there really quick. So, with that being said, it's a miracle that we're sober, and it's a true blessing to have the honor to speak, and I'm very grateful for everyone in this room, and thank you for letting me speak.